Before we begin, let us bring our hands together in veneration, the Supreme Teacher, the Master, the guidance of the all humanity. He is the fountain of loving kindness and compassion. He is the Master. He is our teacher, the Supreme Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. How are you all today? Good? So last time I think we discussed about the merits, what you have to do in your life. You have to involve in merits, you have to give to somebody who gives wisdom. And you have to understand that this is the ultimate goal. I mean, we all have one goal. We should have one goal in our lives. That's why in this beautiful land that I live, everybody has one goal. One for all for one, because of one goal. We help each other because we all have one goal. We all are fighting against one enemy. We all have an enemy, ladies and gentlemen, but we don't know that we have one enemy. Because that we don't know we have one enemy, that we fight against all enemies, that we think that variety of enemies around us. If you go and ask from USA, they say, okay, China is our enemy. If you go and ask from, I think sometimes in India, Pakistan, they are arguing, right? The problem with this in different countries, they have enemies. Even sometimes in our culture, sometimes in Sri Lanka, I don't know about the foreign countries. If you go and ask, do you have enemy? Yes, neighbor. They are fighting for the lands. You know, the land, the fence is always moving. Today, the fence is in this way, and the next day, they have moved the fence. Fence is moving. We have moving fences because they are fighting. They are fighting because they don't know that they all have one enemy. Imagine one alien, like say alien community, and they are going to attack all the countries in world in the world. You know, if that happens, then everybody will get together and fight against that alien, because they have to protect them, isn't it? If we all have one enemy, then we all have that's the way that we can have one goal. That's why there's a Sanskrit sloka. Ayam nija paroveti ganana lagu chetasa udara charita namtu vasudhaiva kutumbakam. A narrow-minded person always thinks that this is yours and this is me, this is mine, and that is yours, that is hers, that is him, belongs to him, this is belong to me. And they are trying to separate the world into pieces. But the wise one always think that whole world is a one family. That's why when you are practicing this path, that you feel that the whole world is one family. You start to experience this concept that I'm discussing. If you're practicing the path, that you will realize this whole world is one family. Because we all have one enemy. One family always fight against an enemy, one enemy. Now you are now questioning, what is this one enemy that you are referring to? Yes, you don't know that there's a one enemy, but there's an enemy. We all have. Can you guess? It's not I comes because of I. What is this enemy? Ignorance. Ignorance of what's happening right now. Ignorance of what's going on right now. Then you might say, you might say, of course, Swami Nwaze, I know everything that's going on right now. I can 100% sure that you are speaking to me and you are you are speaking in front of us. You are listening from a computer. I can see you in a computer screen, and you are speaking to us, and I am listening to you. You can say like that. You feel it. No, this is not the truth. This is because this is what you feel because of your ignorance, ladies and gentlemen. You will understand this. I'm going to solve this puzzle slowly. So today onwards, we are going to start this discussing a little bit dumb points. So that's why I brought this my companion. Without whiteboard, I can't teach Dhamma because that's because I think it's because we are so academic. We want to show things in pictures, images. We need to write things to show. That's why. I know that you all have gone to schools, and you learn things in a school. When you're learning things, you need a whiteboard. This is something that you understand. We all have this enemy, ignorance. Because of the ignorance, ladies and gentlemen, there's attachment. Attachment. Because of the ignorance, the mind gets attached to things. As a result of that, mental suffering is happening. This is something, an equation, I-A-S. Now understand this. When you have a wanting, when you want something, let's say when you were small, your next person in your school, let's say he has brought a new kind of eraser. When you notice that, and also you look at this person's face, then you will see he's happy because of the eraser. Now what happened to you? Now you hope what? You will have an eraser. As a result of that, now you want an eraser. Now you are upset because you don't have an eraser. Now you're hoping, okay, you're wishing. Now you're not happy. Now you're suffering. If you're not happy, that means you're suffering. Suffering means what? Mentally suffering. You're not mentally happy. Right? Okay, you're suffering. Why are you suffering? Because you don't have a eraser. Which eraser? That person, that person has a good eraser. Do you have this kind of experience? When somebody is showing you something that you don't have, you feel envious. Envy. And then you go in front of your mom and dad. You beg in front of them, and my mom, I love you. If I want to pass these exams, can you please give me that kind of eraser? Which kind of eraser? That white color one, the box color, the way, whatever that you can describe. Then you will say that because of that now you don't have a way to to erase Hmm? Hmm? Because it takes time to erase things. That's why you can earn more marks in your exams. So you are telling the bits and pieces and different things. Huh? You somehow what you're trying to do is you're trying to buy that eraser. Why are you buying that eraser? Now think about this. Why are you buying that eraser? Because in order to make you happy, then you need that eraser. That means, ladies and gentlemen, your suffering is not because of attachment. Your suffering is because of that you don't have eraser. That's what you feel. That's why you are now. I mean, because of suffering that you are going behind your mom and asking a solution for that. What is the solution that you have? Give me something that I want. Ah, that means your suffering is not because of attachment. Your suffering is not because of ignorance. Your suffering is because of what? No eraser. You're suffering not because of what? No eraser. But Buddha says suffering is because of attachment happens because of ignorance. I mean, this is completely opposite. Now think about your entire life that you have spent. You are searching for different things each and every moment. Why? You're upset now. You're suffering because you lack that. What that? What is that? That's something that other people have that you don't have that. Other people are happy. Other people are happy because that they have these things. Remember those days. I mean, this is something reflect. Think about your life, right? Sometimes you have started earning some basic salary. When you pass out from the university, you won't get millions, right? You won't get a million salary. You will get some basic salary to keep the life, to keep your boat float. Hmm? And then what happened? And you expecting more salary because why? Because other people are having luxurious life. Other people are happy because they are having a big huge houses and all these things because they have a good life. In order to have good life, you need more money, because good life means happiness, happy life. Happy life comes with the money, with money. That's what you projected, that's what you thought. But the thing is, ladies and gentlemen, each and every moment, even though they are showing that they are happy, they are also suffering because they don't have something. People who, let's say, a person who has a Rolex watch, do you think that he is happy with that? He is happy, but at the same time, he wants that watch again and again. That means buying a watch, buying a Rolex watch because that you want it, it's not a solution for that. Because after you bought that watch, you still want. If you buy a car, right? What happened? You bought a car because you want it. Okay. After you buy the car, do you satisfy with your wanting? No, still you still want it. Okay. What's the purpose of buying a car then? Think. You are not thinking these things when you are running this business, monkey business. Remember the monkey business I told? Hmm? I'm doing monk business. You are doing monkey business. This is you. This is me. I want you to come to this. Your suffering is because of there's no eraser. Your suffering is because of you don't have a car. Your suffering is because of you don't have a wife. Your suffering is because of you don't have that thing, that thing. That means if I erase this, your suffering, there are many reasons. This, 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 this. You can draw a millions here. Your suffering is because of what? Millions things. There are different things. This, it's endless. See, what is the cause of suffering? These days I don't have that. That's why, because of I'm suffering. Because of that I'm suffering. Okay. If I come to you like after 1 month, these days I have that thing that I was searching for. Now I don't have this. That's why I'm suffering. When are you going to stop this suffering? No, sir, because I think suffering is something that I am that I have to live with it. That's what you feel. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to come out of this suffering, even though you're satisfied with this, let's say you have it, then you don't have this. Because of that you're suffering. Okay, you have to, now you fulfill this. Okay, you have this. Are you still suffering? Of course you're suffering, still suffering. Because why? You don't have this. Okay, let's say if I put everything, ticks, everything. Now you have everything that you wanted. Are you happy? No, because now the other people have something else. So I think I should have that as well to be happy. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is something. I mean, this is something that you cannot come out of this suffering. There are millions of causes for your suffering. But I have a simple formula. Thanks to the Buddha, thanks to the Dhamma, thanks to the wisdom that Buddha found, I have a simple formula of suffering. Your formula is so complex. My formula is very simple. My formula is suffering. It's not my formula, right? This is Buddha's formula. The Buddha's formula is suffering, attachment, ignorance. Your formula has millions of factors. And this suffering never ends. But this suffering ends. I have to tell you that this is not the same different suffering. This is the same suffering I'm referring to. But the thing is, in your case, you think that suffering is coming from these things. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the ultimate formula. This happens because you think there are millions of variety you have different things. What to do now? Now give me something that give me a rational answer for this. How to come out of this? This is like a the wool ball, wool ball with different knots, and it cannot. It's tangled. Tangled. Yes, but this very simple. Actually, this is how you feel. But your suffering is coming because of only this. If you get rid of ignorance, you don't have these things. If you get rid of ignorance, there's no attachment to any of these things. As a result of that, there's no suffering. I'm not talking about the physical suffering. This suffering, if somebody hits you, that you feel pain. I'm not talking about that suffering. I'm talking about the mental void, unsatisfied. Sometimes you have vexation. You're mentally retarded, mentally vexed. I'm talking about that suffering. There's a cure for that, ladies and gentlemen. You don't have to have drugs for that. People are having drugs because of they are suffering. They have this suffering. They feel something void. That's why poor people, they don't. Sad to say this. People are having drugs because they are mentally suffer. Right? Mentally they are suffering, because of that they are having drugs. Drug is affecting to the body. Drug is not doing anything to the mind. This is like, pain reflection. Sometimes in dentist, the dentists know this the concept that I'm talking about. Let's say one of your tooth decayed in one place in this side. That pain is coming as that something happened here. you feel a pain from this side, but the tooth that decayed is in this side. So if you are treating to the tooth that here, thinking that this is the problem, but the problem is actually here, this side. But because of the pain reflection, there's something called pain reflection, the thing. Now you're treating for this. Let's say dentist they didn't see this. Now they are trying to take it out this tooth, and something wrong with that. You won't get a solution, because the pain will be there again and again. Because unless you treat to the root cause, then only you can come out of it. Likewise, ladies and gentlemen, forget about this. This is not the suffering. Okay. Here I have to mention this. Buying an eraser, having an eraser, or not having an eraser or not having an eraser is not the root cause of suffering, ladies and gentlemen. Root cause of suffering is an ignorance and attachment. If you are aware what's going on right now with your mind, if you're aware of what's happening here right now, that awareness liberate yourself from the suffering. That's why you think, when you're thinking about something, you start to feel the void. That means void always comes with the thought. Now you think, if I don't have, not having something is the root cause of suffering. No. That's wrong. You're not having something is not the root cause of suffering. Suffering is coming because of the ignorance is there in each and every minding moment. Ignorance is there. Because, ladies and gentlemen, since we haven't met the Buddha, since we haven't understand the Buddha's Dhamma, since we haven't listened to a teacher who understood this Dhamma, ignorance is there with your mind completely, permanently, everywhere. Each and every minding moment has the ignorance. Do you understand that? If ignorance is there in each and every mind, that means there's no any experience that you had that every thought that happens in your mind always comes with the ignorance. That means suffering was there with you throughout the time. That means, ladies and gentlemen, you have an experience, a thought without the suffering. Then you always think, okay, if I feel something, if I want something, suffering is there. That means suffering comes because I don't have that thing. Taking this pen, this action. Let's say I want to write. Okay, take the pen and start writing. This action can be done without mentally suffer. Without experiencing a small suffering, very little suffering, mental suffering. When you realize the reality, then you can do this without having a suffering. But the thing is, if you want to write, then you take the pen. In that moment that you're doing that action, you have small void to take the pen, and you have a now void to open the pen. If this didn't write here, then your suffering goes to the maximum. This Anagarika Mahatya should bring something writable, right? Now you're complaining as well, because of the void, because of the vexation. Ladies and gentlemen, that vexation happens not because of that this is not writing. Vexation happens because of there's an expectation, there's an ignorance, because expectation comes because of the attachment comes because of the ignorance. This is the simple formula that generates the suffering. You have to try to understand this. The mental suffering is not associated with the incidents. Incidents, thoughts, actions, words, they don't have any value with it. They are neutral in value. But because of the ignorance and attachment, the suffering generates because that you're projecting a value to that incident. That happens because of the ignorance and attachment. But this happens together as a result of that a particular mind which is ignorant itself cannot identify that ignorance is the root cause of this suffering. Self-reflection, self-realizing, self-realization, it's impossible. Only by himself or herself. There's no he and she. There's only minds are there, right? Okay, itself. Mind cannot self-realize itself without having a support from a teacher. Only Buddha can do that. Buddha would be able to, the Buddha 2500 years ago, he is the only one who was able to do that by that mind itself understood that what's going on here, the truth. As a result of that, there's no suffering. These are actually, even though you feel the suffering is because of this, you connect these things, right? But actually, it's like this. There's no connection. These are different incidents, particular things. There's no connection with the suffering. Sometimes, most of the things that you're doing, you don't have to do that. If you don't feel void, you won't do those things. Do you agree with me? Let's say somebody else got an eraser. If you don't feel the void, still you have an eraser, something to erase. Do you go and ask from your mom that your mom, can you please give me that eraser? No. Okay, let's say that you finish that eraser. I mean, you use that eraser. It's gone off. It's not there. Then next time when your mom is bringing an eraser, then you can request. There's a good eraser that you can erase very properly. You can bring it to me if you like. You can give it to me. Now you're using for purpose. You don't have a void. You don't have a mental vexation for an eraser. That's why, ladies and gentlemen, I'm using this pen without having a mental vexation, because I realize that what I'm doing is what's going on here. Because that ignorance is, if you don't have ignorance, if you are contemplating, you don't have ignorance in that moment. As a result of that, there's no attachment, there's no suffering. Then you can do all these works without connecting to the suffering. Ignorance, connect these two lines. Ignorance, connect this. When I'm teaching you, what I'm doing is I am erasing your ignorance, not your ignorance. Ignorance that have that that's there in your mind. We can say like that. Did you get this message? Like, there's no connection between these two. Ignorance is connecting these two dots. This is the attachment. Because of ignorance, I can write it in red color. Because of ignorance, this is the attachment means what? Attaching, suffering to the object, suffering to the incident, suffering to the thing. See, ignorance, attachment, suffering. But how it reflects? Because of it, you're suffering. It's very simple, isn't it? I like this diagram. Because I haven't thought of this, right? When I take the whiteboard, I don't know what I'm going to teach. But see, this is the Dhamma. This is the Buddha's teaching. Thank you. That's a very simple explanation. Your suffering always have different variations, but these things are neutral in value. Ignorance project a value for this. As a result of that, it connect the suffering is because of this. Attachment and ignorance connect the suffering. Cause is root cause of suffering. Okay, now what you have to understand, you have to reflect, you have to think about this. Each and every mind, each and every moment, if you are suffering, let's say if you feel suffering, if you feel mentally retarded, if you feel mentally void something void, we will discuss about the ignorance, we will discuss about the attachment in future episodes. I'm not expecting you to connect these things. I'm asking you to reflect about this. Suffering is not because of this object or incident or person. Let's say somebody scold you. Suffering is coming. You feel angry, huh? You feel angry. Angry comes not because of that person is scolding at you. Angry comes because of what? Ignorance and attachment. You can write this equation on the on in front of your working desk. IAS, like like you have to reflect about it. You have to think about it. You have to think about it, reflect about it. Can you do that? Can you think about this? Right? I mean, this is what we have to practice even in inside the monastery, right? When you're practicing, when you're thinking about this, I'm not talking about the people who reside in the monastery. I'm talking about the people who reside outside who start practicing this path. This is you have to understand. Ignorance attachment cause the root cause suffering. Suffering is comes because of the ignorance attachment. Suffering is not comes because of the people, because of the objects, or because of the incidents. Incidents, people, and objects are zero in value. Ignorance attachment is the root cause of suffering. These are the no. These are neutral. Try to reflect on this. Don't you think this is the way to detox your mind? Because you always think eraser, car, wife, girls, chocolate cake, pizza, spaghetti, music. These are the things because you don't have, you're suffering. Reflect on this. IAS. Can you do that? Okay. Please reflect on this and try to apply this. Remind yourself, okay, this is not the them. Then don't do wrong things. Stop doing wrong things. Stop uprooting the wrong tooth. You have a pain in the head. You are treating to the leg. You have pain in you have a headache. You are treating to the leg. Don't do those things. Reflect about this. And see you in the next episode of Detox Your Mind. May the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem be with you all.